Welcome to Jake's On First, the podcast where we talk about baseball and fantasy baseball. And we know how to solve all of baseball's problems. The problem is no one's listening. I'm joined today by my co-host, Jake Hipple. Jake, how are you doing, buddy?
Good.
You getting ready for some fantasy baseball action?
Yeah, this is the first day I've looked at it.
It's about time.
Now that
'cause the
hockey
draft
and
is-
basketball are ending,
Yeah.
draft's coming up. Time to focus on baseball.
We are also joined today by MLB executives Coelho. Say hi, Coelho. How you doing, man?
I'm great. I've only done about 12 mock drafts.
In preparation of this episode or in preparation of our draft?
In preparation of just everything. Honestly, I just do it for fun.
All right. I feel that.
How many leagues are you in?
I want to say right now, I'm trying to add it up in my head. I think I'm just doing 4 this year, but I'm also doing that sim league. Might do 5. Okay. I'm trying to start a 40-man roster league with 26 keepers per year with real life salaries in the salary cap. But so far, I don't think it's going to happen this year. But
wow,
you never know.
Very simple.
Really complicated. Okay, well, let's not waste any more time. I got 7 minutes on the clock. Today we're talking about Tim Tebow's Army of Awanas Kids. That is my team, owned by Jake Fussell. Last year, we went 2-4, had a losing record in the short season, just the 6-week season. We were second to last in points for, but led the league in points against, which I don't know. I think is kind of a little bit of like bad luck combination. You can not score very much, and yeah, that's on like my team and whatever I'm doing. But to have like the league leading scoring against you is just not great. So we're looking to improve next year. Hipple, why don't you tell us a little bit about the keepers?
All right. So first off, can you explain your team name?
Tim Tebow's Army of Awanas Kids. Well, Tim Tebow was an American football player who moved on to play baseball and was iconic for his knowledge of Christianity. And Awanas is something that little kids do at church. So he has an army of Awanas kids. But now he's retiring, so I'm not sure if the name has to change or not.
Oh, wow. Franchise might get renamed. That's big news.
Yeah, that's for a later episode.
Okay. Anyways, all right. So your keepers are Garrett Cole, Matt Chapman, Bobby Witt Jr., John Carlos Stanton, Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, Zach Greinke, Daniel Lynch, who we will be discussing for sure, Sean Manaea, Cabrian Hayes. I'm not quite sure I pronounce his first name.
Ke'Bryan.
And Jack Flair.
Ke'Bryan Hayes.
I'm not sure if it's – how is it?
Ke'Bryan.
Oh, it's literally how it's spelled?
Son.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's a fun fact. And then Jack Flaherty at the end. All of 12.
All right, Coelho, what do you think about draft needs?
Well, infield. Got 2 third basemen. Hayes is a legit 2021 third baseman, which is nice. But, middle infield is a concern for sure. Everyone needs a catcher, so that's not a problem right there, honestly. And I will say, don't sleep on Ohtani. People forget to look at Ohtani as a hitter. I know even after he hasn't pitched in the last couple of years, so maybe not as much. My only thing with him is people say like he could be the top scorer in all of fantasy this year. So people could, from one way of looking at it, that's like the top player on the in the whole league. But from another perspective, his production as a hitter, like on a day-to-day basis, might be lower than another DH, or any other utility that you might be able to pick up, just depending on what year it is. So, you could even need a little bit more hitting depth in general. One need I don't see right away is outfield for sure. You got Acuna and Soto. You have 2 extra outfield spots, and like the middle tier of outfield this year, it looks like it's pretty high variance. Like you have a lot of guys like, I don't know, Will Myers, for example, those type of players that could do what they did last year, or then players in the other end of the spectrum like Max Kepler, where you have a lot of previous success coming off of a rough shortened season. So you could probably skip outfield. Of course, I'm not telling you to do this, but you could probably skip outfield for a few rounds and still end up with like a couple good sleeper outfielders and be pretty safe there. And then Stanton might play some outfield this year. And if that does happen, you have 3 outfielders. So
that was kind of my thought on Stanton. Is like I have 3 outfielders if he gets slotted in there. As far as
you have three starting pitchers at 6 starts a week, so you'll find 2 more without a problem, I bet.
Hippo, any comments?
So the structure of the keepers for this year was you get 10 like veteran keeper slots, then 2, we'll call them arbitration, where it's a rookie plus another year can be put in that prospect arbitration.
I don't know why
slot.
we call it arbitration, because you don't reach arbitration
you can't
until you're 3 years in.
Slot. Okay, pre-arbitration.
I call it
the pre
or slot. Yeah, future star. That's what I like.
Future star. I don't even know. There's not really a specific name, but future star, pre-arb, prospect, arb.
The reason I call it a future star is if you get a Topps baseball card that says you're a future star, that means you're no longer a rookie. But it's literally, they make those baseball cards the year after you're a rookie. And so like this year, I guess last year, Fernando Tatis would have had a future stars baseball card. This year it'll be Luis Robert, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of Luis Robert, any thoughts there?
Yes. The 2 future star slots, you chose to fill them with Bobby Witt Jr. and a guy by the name of Daniel Lynch that not many people know of, when you could have used one of them on Luis Robert and chose not to keep him at all. So I'm going to let Coelho discuss that one after you, or do you want to defend yourself first? One of those 2.
I mean, I don't really have like a statistical defense. I think I have a good team without Luis Robert. Frankly, I get like the hype on him is really high, but his production was just average last year, and you can throw out short season whatever you want. But the reason that I wanted to pick up some prospects that are a little further out, because I want to be able to position myself with enough prospects to deal at the deadline if I feel like I can go for it. Because with my pitching staff and some of the other bats I have, I kind of feel like this is my go for it year.
So my way of looking at it is, if you want to have some good players to trade when you want to go for it, Luis Robert would be a really good player to trade.
Much higher.
But the way you're talking about Luis Robert is you're saying that he would be like a main production piece, not a trade piece.
Well, the way he would be he might, of course he might not be. You never know with anybody, but if you're a production piece, that means you have trade value. More so, even
way more trade value than a Daniel Lynch.
So the way I see it, Daniel Lynch, honestly, Hippo, you should have heard of him. I feel like he was a pretty big star.
I don't follow college baseball.
Well, that's on you. That doesn't make that a bad pick.
You.
Your inability to follow college baseball doesn't make him a bad keep. What makes him a bad keep is the fact that he probably wasn't going to go drafted. He is less than 1% rostered. And I know not every league out there is a keeper league. Most of them aren't. Enough of them are nowadays that like someone like Wander Franco is going to be like 20% rostered. So that tells me it would have, of course, been a risk, but you could have picked him up in like the 10th round anyways. and then still had Robert. And then someone like me would salivate over always Robert. Then you could have traded him to me for 2 players anyways. Even if they weren't players that you would have kept, you weren't going to keep Robert anyways. I'm not going to go trade for Daniel Lynch. So I know you don't want to play 3D chess with your keeps, but I think in this case, playing checkers would have at least helped.
Hipple, any final thoughts on the roster as we close out our time?
Oh man. No, I wasn't super sold on Luis Robert when he was coming up. I thought he was, when their guys are super hyped like that, I kind of like take a step back and think they may not be that good. And he didn't have that great of a year, but there's so much potential and a lot of people buy into him that it just made more sense to keep him for trade value if that's what you're looking for. And then you could draft so many top prospects at any point in the draft because they're not going to go early in the draft. So you could have easily just overpaid by a few rounds on them if you wanted that. But it's whatever. I mean, that's honestly not anywhere near the worst decision that's been made by owners. And we don't even know it's a bad decision, but it's not it's unorthodox for sure, but it's okay. Team-wise, the team keepers are good. Obviously, you look at owner history. I care more about the owner history in this stuff because we're only keeping a third of our team. So it comes down to owners to draft and manage the roster throughout the season. And unfortunately, your team has not had a good history.
It hasn't, but I can say that I believe I'm like either first or second over the 3 years in points against.
But you're also first or second or last or second last in points scored. And mathematically,
I'm middle of the pack. I'm middle of the pack in points.
Are you?
In points for.
Well, I will say this, before we switch over, I criticized you for the Daniel Lynch trade, so I have to give you credit because Juan Soto is now a lower average draft position than Mike Trout, and then you still have Jack Flaherty and Greinke on top of them, and those are basically the big pieces in that Trout trade. So,
yep.
That might.
One could argue
I'm super high on Flaherty this year, and I'm super high on Soto this year. I mean, you should always be high on Soto, but
yeah,
both of them. The
man would have been a tough MVP candidate to beat out Freddie if he hadn't have had the weird COVID mess. But
yep. Freddie got it 2 weeks earlier than him, so he was smarter. He just got out of the way.
So, well, that's all the time we have for this team. Join us next time for another team profile and projection as we look forward to our fantasy draft.